Good morning. We have officially arrived in the season of dark mornings and early nights. I got up it was about 7:30, and I had to put the light on because it was so dark here at home. It's picked up a little bit now, it's about 9 o'clock. But this is probably the worst thing for me about when the seasons change. Really, really dark mornings, and then it getting dark in the height of winter. It'll be about 4 o'clock or something, but at the moment I think it's about 6, and I hate it. I hate having to have the windows closed because it's too cold. Although today it's very wet, it's raining, heavy cloud cover, but it's that weird warm temperature. Feels a little bit like a rainforest. So at least I can have the windows open, because I have a thing about not closing curtains. I like to let as much natural light in as possible. I like to get the fresh air in. And that's particularly important when you don't do well in winter, like me, and you need as much natural light as possible, because I think I've probably got a little bit of SAD. My mum's had it for years. She has a specialist daylight lamp, which she's already been using for probably over a month. And you start using it in the mornings and in the evenings to extend the daylight hours as the nights start to draw in and the mornings are dark. I don't think I'll be getting one of those. I'm not that bad. I can just stand and look out the window for 20 minutes. And there's enough light here to trigger my brain, but it takes me a while to wake up. And I find that I start to wake up later and later, which is fine because I work for myself. And if I do need to get up early for something, I'll just set an alarm, but I don't normally. But in the spring and the summer, when you're waking up and the first thing you want to do is open a window and it's sunny and blue sky outside, or at least the temperatures are good, I wake up earlier. So I can wake up naturally 7 o'clock in the spring and summer, because I'm keen to enjoy it. Now I'm starting to slide, and there have been a few mornings over the last week where I haven't woken up till 8:30, and I haven't changed my sleeping habits. I still go to bed at 11, and so going to bed at 11, waking up between 7 and 8 is very standard for me, but I can feel that it's changing. Anyway, today is not about the weather, British though I am. Today I want to talk about, give you a little story about procrastination and avoidance. So 15 years ago, when I split up with my then partner, it's the usual thing for me. When a relationship comes to an end, I'm not a one for lingering. I want it over and I want to get on with my life. And that is the same whether I have instigated the breakup or whether someone else has. I don't see any point in hanging on to past partners. And usually I have done that. I'm quite a knee-jerk reaction person. So normally I would pack up my stuff and move. And by move, I have a habit of moving cities, moving counties. So when I moved from this one 15 years ago, I moved to a new county, but I was massively downsizing. I went from living in a 3-bedroom house, which we had shared for a long time. It was his house, but I was contributing to it. And call from the cleaning agency. I can't do, for the reason that I'm doing this little vlog today. I've lost my train of thought now. Yes, so I downgraded from a 3-bedroom house with all my stuff, all the things that I collated over an 8-year period. At that point, I was working full-time as a PA, but I was also doing costume design on the side. So I had a workshop room there. It was as busy as it is now. There was a lot more stuff back then. And I went into living in the small spare room of a student house share for a year until things settled down. And not surprisingly, I left stuff behind. And this always happens as well whenever I move. It's quite difficult moving when you're, I generally don't hire removal vehicles. I'll stick everything in the back of my car and just get on with it. So, and because once I've gone, I don't want to have to go back. I don't want to relive the place. I don't want to have to face the person. I just want to start again, move on, reorganise my life. So I don't know what stuff I left behind at this house. In the back of my mind, there were a few things, and I just had to face the fact that I'd lost those things. And most of it, I mean, I used to be a terrible hoarder of certain things. I used to be a bit of a collector. And over the years, I have moved so many times, I've just had to get over it, because it's really hard to be a hoarder and a clutter person when you might be moving, every year. Since I moved up to the north here, I've been here for almost 6 years, and I moved 9 times. Mostly I was living in house shares. You can't have lots of stuff. I had a studio, so everything got dumped there. When I was moving home, I was only moving a few basic things because I was living in furnished accommodation. So that wasn't such a big deal, but of course now that's gone. Anyway, I am settled where I am now, but I have stuff that I'm slightly nervous about, like furniture and things like that, and that's why I buy second hand. It's why I do gifted. It's why I do skip diving, because if at any point I have to suddenly downsize, this stuff can just go. It doesn't really mean anything to me. It's more practical than anything. If I was going to, move and I needed to take out a storage unit, a lot of the furniture that I do have is good storage. It's shelving and things like that because I have a studio. Anyway, so back to my story, because I keep going off on a tangent. I think it was the end of last year, might have been the beginning of this year. I get an email out the blue from the ex, who I've mostly successfully managed to avoid. He hasn't coped as well with the split as I did, and 15 years later, he's still moping about it. And I'm going to be honest with you, just grow the F up. 15 years. It's not my fault that you were the person you were and that I wasn't prepared to carry you for the rest of your life. Sorry, this happens a lot. I always end up with partners who kind of need someone to manage them. My mum always says that I collect lame ducks, and it's true, because that's why I'm now single. Because I put up with it for quite a while, and then I just snap. It's like, what's the matter with you? And there are all sorts of other things going on. It wasn't as simple as that. But anyway, so I've tried to keep the email conversations very short and shrift. And the basic reason for him contacting me was because he wanted to know if I wanted the big piece of furniture that I had left behind when I moved. Now, I assumed that I was never going to see this piece of furniture again. It is sentimental, but I couldn't face the dealing with, because it meant having to contact him and having to deal with all the guilt trip that I'm getting at the moment for 15 years ago. So that brings us to where we are today, which is that after all of this year of me Well, we agreed that we'd arrange a van to pick this thing up because it's huge. It's a big, heavy piece of furniture. It needs a proper van. It needs two guys to pick it up because it's heavy. It was handmade by my granddad, who was a carpenter. Well, one of his jobs was a carpenter. And he made a lot of the furniture in their house in London back in the 60s and the 70s. And it's one of the few things I've been able to hang on to, or had been able to hang on to. But it's a so-and-so to move. It's big and heavy, and you have to hire a removal company or men with a van. And having procrastinated for most of this year and just put off having to deal with it, because at first it started out with was I'm going to have to pay for it, and then it's got to the point where he has said I'll pay for it. Apparently he's hired a professional declutterer, so I dread to think what the house looks like because he was more of a hoarder than I was. I don't even want to think about it. So I found the van, I've sorted the van myself, he's paid me the money for the van, and today the van is picking up from its location down south and bringing it up north. I hope it's in the same condition I left it. I have no idea. But I haven't paid for the move, so whatever I get hasn't cost me money. There was no way I was going to pay for it. Although I was looking at van prices earlier in the year, and that's why it's taken so long to sort, because it was coming in at, between £400 and £500, because the petrol prices were ridiculous. Like when I was first looking at the end of last year. Now it's cost £250 to move this thing, which is fair. These guys have got to drive all the way up. It's like over a 3-hour drive. And then they've got to get home again. So this thing will be arriving at some point after 3:30 today. And I've got a little app which tells me where they are on the road, so I'll give a rough idea. So today I've got to clear a lot of space in the hallway and at the stairs and the front door to make sure they've got maximum room to get this thing up. It's going to be huge fun. And once this is done, I am hoping I can then just not have to deal with this X. So my procrastination is really bad because it's taken me 15 years to not sort this out and then sort it out. And of course the avoidance, which is I really don't want to have to deal with this person, is what most of the 15 years has been about. But it's taken me almost a year to sort this van because the combination of procrastination, I've done 15 years without this piece of furniture. I don't really need it, but it's sentimental, so I kind of want it. And just avoiding having to deal with the ex, and it's just such hard work. We're complete opposites in that respect. I don't do all that emotional thing. I don't dwell on things. I just get on with it, and although that is kind of who I am, it's also from experience. It takes years to perfect the art of being able to walk away from people like that. It's pasts, hey. Anyway, so I'm waiting in to just sort everything, really. And it's weird because I hate having to dredge up the past. I always say that regret is a waste of energy because regret doesn't change anything. If you could have changed it, you would have changed it, whatever it is. So I don't regret, and I don't regret because what's the point? But I do hate thinking about past things that I'm not happy about, the way things happened, the way I dealt with situations, because I'm pretty dreadful. When I look back at my past, I was pretty awful at the way I dealt with things. And I've just been able to change the way I do things by just not getting involved with people. Because I make really bad choices. I'm not good at doing relationships, and then I realised that actually it was because I didn't want the relationships in the first place, and I don't know what I was doing. And then I learned how to be single independent and not need people, so that's where things changed. And that's how it's been for the last, I think, 8 years, about 8 years now. So, going to sign off now. As soon as I know that this van is on the road, because there's always a chance that it won't fit in the van, and I say that because he gave me the measurements, and there's always a chance that everything's wrong. So until I see that that van has picked up and is on its way to me, then I will start to do the clear, because that gives me 3 hours, or 3+ hours, to get organised. So this morning will be a normal day, and then I will come back later when it's arrived. I have an idea what this piece of furniture is going to be for. It's very practical. I'm going to put it in my studio, and the way it's been built, the top half I think is going to have a very specific purpose, and then the rest of it will help me declutter a little bit in the studio. But once it's arrived, fingers crossed it does arrive, and it is as it was, then I will do the follow-up. So let's hope it all goes to plan today. We'll see what happens. Okay, I've been tracking the van on their little app, which is really, really handy because it tracks them in live time, so you can follow the little van on the actual Google Maps. And my tall boy has just been collected, and they are now on the road. I don't know how long it's going to take them to get here. They have 4 stops before me. It'll be here by, I think, 7:45 in the evening, so that gives me plenty of time to clear the way for it and try and make some room. Now that it's I know it's actually on its way, I think I might try and make the actual space for it, because it'd be nice to show you it in situ. So I shall get on. Busy Friday afternoon. Clearing out, making space for the tall boy, and checking emails. And of course I've had an email from him saying, oh, by the way, there's a little bit of damage to it. Surprise, surprise. I don't quite know what he means. It sounds like he's had it in the garage for most of the year. He moved it out the house and put it into the garage. I think the garage roof leaks. He had plastic on it, but the plastic has slipped, so I think there's some water damage, which will really pee me off if he's completely ruined it, because it's solid wood. I knew it wasn't going to go to plan, but we'll see what happens when it turns up. At least I haven't had to pay for the van. Things never quite go the way you think they're going to, do they? But I had in my gut instinct was that there might be 1 or 2 hiccups, so we'll see what it looks like when it gets here. Anyway. Today's going well. Just had a letter through the post saying that I owe working tax credits money. Let's just bear in mind that it is Friday the 13th. I'm not superstitious, but I'm not feeling good about this. I've also just been clearing out the room and planning the way this piece of furniture is going to go in, and there is a chance that it's not going to fit through the doors. So that'll be interesting. It'll get through the front door, but I don't know what's going to happen after that. We will have to see. It's too late now, it's on its way. There's nothing I can do about it. I might have to spend the rest of my time living here, squeezing through a 3-inch gap in my doorway. nothing I can do. Just going to have to see what happens. Such is life. Right, it is the morning after the arrival of the piece of furniture, which turned out to be less stressful than I thought it would be. The van guys, when they turned up, were absolutely brilliant. Furniture didn't arrive until 8:15. I knew that because of the app on the van delivery site was telling me exactly where they were and what time they were going to be here, so that was all fine. I was worried about it getting through the doors, but it turns out that I had the wrong measurements. There's a surprise. The width, the depth of the piece of furniture was absolutely fine. So I had taken the main door off as a precaution and didn't need to. So at least I know how to remove and refit a fire door. Another problem that isn't a problem is the description of this white stuff on the unit. That all came off. However, there is quite a lot of damage to the front, so I am going to have to do some work on it. There's damp mottling where it sat in a leaky garage for almost a year. It was full of spiders, which I've now dealt with. I had to hoover the whole thing out. And there are some pretty deep scratches on it. I have a friend who does furniture restoration, so I'm going to ask her what she thinks I should do, and I need to do some other fixing. So let's go and have a look at this piece of furniture and I can show you what the problems are. Okay, so this is a big piece of furniture. Can't see it in this light. Hold on, let me just change the camera. We'll see how we get on with that. The light will improve because I've got lots of stuff stacked up against the window, as you can see here. Right, so this is the piece of furniture. It's a big practical piece of furniture. This is not pretty, it's practical. It's a family heirloom. My granddad built this, he was a carpenter. It's got really nice dovetails on it. It's a good solid piece of furniture, very useful. The drawers in this thing are massive. They're really huge. This whole thing is the same height as me, almost the same width. And it's not a 28-inch depth, it's 18, which makes a big difference. But so I've got these 3 bottom drawers, which I'm going to use for fabric storage. I have a whole recess section in my studio, which is full of, well, not full of, but has a number of suitcases which are full of all my fabric storage because I don't have proper space for it. So that's all going to go in there, and then I can probably get rid of some of these suitcases or reuse them for other things. The top section, now this needs work. This section was all ripped out when it arrived yesterday. It's a sliding double door with 2 shelves in it. This is basically a tall boy. This is what they used to be. So I haven't glued this back in yet, but I will do. And I am going to make this my larder. This is where I'm going to keep all my food supplies, because at the moment it's in several cardboard boxes with labels on, and I don't really know what's there, but there used to be a table here on just a tabletop with a couple of trestle legs, and I just had the boxes on here, and I would just root through when I wanted stuff, when I'd looked on my spreadsheet to see what I had. So now I don't know, it's all going to fit in here, there's quite a lot. What I'm going to do is put everything in here, and then I can see like how many I've got of anything, because I can pack everything in rows and get a really good view of what there is. I'm going to show you the damage. So there's all sorts of damage on here that wasn't here when I last saw this. I don't know whether you can see that. There's mottling on there. This might become a bit more obvious once I've cleared off the window space. But yeah, it needs, it does need some work. but it's intact, you know, the structure is good. And these little shelves in here are great. Again, it's really dark, but they're nice and deep. 18 inches of depth there, and it goes right across. So I'm going to get on and start filling this with my food supplies. I'm going to put the light on. I do not like putting lights on. It costs money. It's daylight. I shouldn't be having to do this. But now you can see. You can see a bit better. Anyway, that's how it looks. Right, let's try and get a bit more organised. It's still early. I haven't thought about how I'm going to do this. I am just going to start filling. I've got a lot of stuff to move off. My work table against the window is piled high with boxes of stuff. I don't really know what I've got. So I'm just going to get started. Yesterday when I was clearing the space, I was literally just pulling stuff out. In my attempts to move stuff, I think I found a couple of bags of stuff that I can put onto Vinted, so I might be able to make some money. So that'll be good. So let's get on with this and see how we get on. Just going to put some newspaper down the shelf just in case anything leaks. I don't want this damaged any more than it already is. Because this top section is still loose, I'm going to take it out so that I can fill properly all in one go and lay everything out properly. So now you can see the amount of space I have. This is a lot bigger than it probably looks. The width is all the way from my elbow to my finger, so there's a lot of depth there on the bottom one, and it's about there on the top one. So I should be able to stack things in a nice orderly way. But efficiently. So I'm going to start with my baking and dry ingredients box. Ow, these boxes are really heavy now. I'm going to be really glad to get all this stuff out. There is so much in here. Don't even know what I've got really. Right, I've got a lot of flour in here, I know that much. Lots of bread flour. I really stocked up on bread flour when I saw it as yellow stickers. I've got tons of the stuff now. You never see this anymore. It's very rare to see flour on discount. So what I'm going to do is start at the bottom. I think I'm just going to stack. I've got two types. I've got the Morrison's and then I've got an Allison's as well. And these will work great for the soda breads. That's a lot of bread flour. I think I've got about 7 or 8 there. Only one plain left, although I just opened one not so long ago. Oh, more plain, self-raising. still had some baking mixes left over from, they might be from last year. I've got a cookie mix. Still got some of that boozy fruit. I've got 2 packets of these shortbread kits. They're all right in an emergency. They're not terribly inspiring, but if you add extra things to them, they become interesting. So we're just going to stack that lot up. Got some pancake mix. That's that box empty. That's my baking box done. Both of these boxes are going to be really good. What's next? I have a lot of cereals. I buy these when they're on offer just because they're a good emergency. There are very often evenings when I can't be bothered to make anything proper, and there are days when I actually do need a quick breakfast. So these are great for that. And of course they last for ages. And there's another one. So these can go in here. Perfect fit for those. I've also got loads of spare tea bags. What I now know is that I don't need to buy any more tea bags. Next box. Tins. Gosh, there are so many tins. Right. Don't need to buy any coffee for a bit. Don't need to buy cooking oil for a bit. I've got loads of chopped tomatoes. Probably need to start using some of them. And loads of chickpeas. Box number 2 empty. Last box is full of dried stuff. Lots of dried noodles. I seem to have ended up with loads of these. I'll probably eat some of them. All these noodles. So many noodles. Oh, more tea bags. Different brand. Pasta. More noodles. Oh, more rice. loads of stock cubes. Stock cubes everywhere. Bought these last year. Always come in handy. Loads of nut roasts. I had no idea I had so many of these. These are nice actually, because you can mix them with anything. And they'll do for 2 meals. These are great for making little meatballs. So meatballs and pasta, vegetarian meatballs and pasta. That's good. 3 of those. Still have a bag of couscous. Didn't know I had that. Red sauce mixes always come in handy when you need a sauce. And a hollandaise sauce and an angel delight. That was a 19p deal and I've never used it. So that can go in here too. Crisps. I have crisps. Crisps stick on water now. And we might just run out of room because I still have my snack bag. Need to have a think about that. Let's put the pasta. I also still have my overdoor storage thing which I bought. Still quite a lot of stuff here, and I might move a little bit of it back. Yeah, there's a lot here still. What I tend to do is put one of each thing that I will be using into here, and then I can just use that. So there's more of those meatball things. There's tinned fish, loads of tinned fish, loads of sauces, which I bought on cheap mostly last year. So I probably need to whittle this down a bit. Two other bag stroke boxes which I don't have room for. One is, I've been using my cool box which I use for car camping for milk. Quite like to get the last of my milk in here just because it's easier to see what I've got, which isn't a lot right now. They've stopped doing milk deals, so I only have a few there. I also have some things left over that I bought earlier in the year when I was down at my parents'. They can go there. Tonic water. No, I don't want to do with that. Let's put those. Oh gosh. That's that empty. I still have my snack bag. However, I feel that if I take out the snack bag and lay it out in here, I will see the snacks. So I'm going to keep the snack bag in there. I have one other bag which probably needs to stay where it is, and that's the alcohol selection. I get lots of freebies from alcohol. I'm not much of a drinker, but when they're free and I have gift cards, I will use it to cash back in the gift cards, and then end up with something that I can probably use at some point. So I'll need to have a look at that later. But let's have a look at this. Look at my amazing little larder now. This is fantastic. I'm so pleased with this. I can now see exactly what I've got, which is so handy. And I do have more room in here. I could stack things further back, but at the moment I'm choosing to try and keep things a bit more organised. But this shows that I have enough pasta, I have enough rice, I have enough baking like brown flour to open a shop, so no more of that. I have tinned fish, I have enough. Tea bags, don't need any more cereal. I have enough chopped tomatoes and chickpeas to feed an army. 3 tins of peeled potatoes for emergencies in case I can't get spuds and I need them. Loads of these plantastic things, couscous, pasta, dried noodles. So there's a ton of stuff here. Although it's less than it used to be because I've not been buying as much over recent months. Just because. So, that's a bit of organisation there. That's been a really enjoyable exercise. This area here now is an organised piece of furniture rather than just a pile of bags stuffed under a table. It means that I can now look at what I'm going to put into the 3 drawers that are at the bottom, which means that I can probably clear out quite a lot of the recess and just get more organised, make things easier to get rather than, oh, I need that bit of fabric, pulling out 6 suitcases to try and find what on earth I did with it. It will now all be laid out properly and it just feels more organised. I hate clutter, I hate the feeling of I don't know what I've got. This unit is really, really strong and I have lots, I've got about 3 foot, maybe 4 foot of room on top of it to put other stuff. So I can make this, you know, get everything off the floor, I can clear some of the cupboards down, just make everything a lot more accessible. So I'm really pleased with that. So that's been a good start to the weekend. I want to do all this today. I've got 2 cleaning jobs tomorrow, which is Sunday, which I shall probably do in the morning. I could do them this afternoon, but there's 2 rugby matches on that I want to watch. So that's it really. It's all going to plan.